Hello dudes, welcome to Nutnfancy's review of the Glock 17 semi-automatic pistol. Great response to my gun review video that I posted, GRV, gun review videos if you will. So, I'll do some more as I get time. Please be patient, I got two very busy careers, so as I find time, I'll manage to squeeze them in. I hope you like the product. I'm always going to strive to give you the most accurate, thorough, and objective review I can, just like I would want. What you're looking at first off is a reprint from the Great American Rifleman magazine of the National Rifle Association in the United States of America. This article is 22 years old. It's a reprint from an article dated back to May 1986. Gracing the front cover in a very well done photo layout is the original Glock 17 in 9mm, and that's the subject of this review. The standard Glock 17, very venerable semi-automatic pistol, very proven. When the Glock 17 first came out though, even though it was groundbreaking in its design, the thing that most characterized its forthcoming was controversy. And it wasn't due to the gun publications or the industry, so to speak, as it was due to the liberal media and their idiocy. They termed the Glock 17 the all-plastic pistol that somehow would circumvent all types of security measures, including airport varieties, and it would be the gun of choice for terrorism in the new world, the all-plastic pistol. So, in this article, American Rifleman necessarily had to debunk that myth, and they spent some ink in doing that. They talked about how you doing, the Glock has 19 ounces of steel in it. Now in 2008 we look back at this and go, that was ridiculous. Well, trust me, in the late 1980s or mid 1980s it was a big deal, because a lot of the press, including ABC, NBC, CBS, were talking about it, and they were terming this the all-plastic pistol that was going to ruin the free world. Nothing could be further from the truth, and they talk about the idiocy of that myth here in the article, in the first part of the article. Then also in the very back they reprint an advertisement from the Astrophysics Research Corporation, and they were the makers of this X-ray line scan system, an airport security device. And of course they showed that indeed the Glock 17 cannot escape detection by that machine, which is of course a function of the physics of this world, because it has steel in it, more so than the excellence of the line scan, if you ask me. So of course that was nonsense, and looking back at it 22 years later we can see that it was just absurdity. But it's a good case study in how the anti-gun media works, and how they try to make an excellent design like this into a whipping boy, and in doing so they would love to have its maker, in this case Glock auto pistols, they'd love to have its maker go out of business and demonize this design. That's how they work. And also Hollywood helped them out. Heck, what was it, the movie Die Hard 2, you know, where Bruce Willis is running around the airport and calling the Glock 17 the all-ceramic, expensive pistol that terrorists have, and that somehow they're uber armed with this new pistol. So Hollywood helped promulgate that myth that this was an all-plastic pistol that was going to destroy society. Ridiculous. Be aware of all those types of ploys that the anti-self-defense types use. That's a subject for a whole series of videos. Enough said about that. Now the article also goes on and talks about the groundbreaking design of the then new Glock 17. And what I like most of all is the history and background of its designer, this amazing man, Gaston Glock, shown here with one of his engineers. Actually, that's an NRA staffer he's showing it to, sorry. Gaston Glock, the thing that makes him amazing is that he was not a firearms guy. He had no experience in firearms design at the time. His company worked in polymers and plastics, producing hardware and furniture mostly. Later on they got defense contracts with the Austrian army, making bayonets and entrenching tools. Then later on he was approached to make an indigenous Austrian design semi-automatic pistol. And again, he had no experience in this at all. But he's a very intelligent mechanical engineer, so he set forth to study the designs of the day. the Berettas, the Colts, whatnot. And he figured he could beat them. And he made a completely original and groundbreaking design within 8 months. 6 months for the original prototype. 2 months later, he perfected it, and it became known as, how you doing, the very famous, very well-known, very proven Glock 17 semi-automatic pistol. To this day, 2008, the Glock 17 is an amazing design, 22 years later. In fact, as I want to discuss and try to set forth some proof, the Glock 17, this being an example of a modern-day Glock 17, is still the standard in semi-automatic pistols. Now, how you're going to say, well, there's a lot of great pistols. I love a 1911, I love a Colt, I love a Beretta, I love an H&K. There's lots of great pistol designs out there, and I understand and recognize that. And I am not a die-hard Glock fan. In other words, I don't think all other guns are garbage and Glock is the best. In fact, I'm a huge SIG fan as well. But for me and my experiences and my philosophy and my common sense, at least as the good Lord gave it to me, the Glock still wins in most categories. Now, before I discuss categories, this is a real gun. And so I want you guys to be safe, and so I'm going to start all of my GRVs off with a gun safety check. If it's a semi-automatic pistol, which this is, I check to make sure the magazine is empty. I take it out first. Interestingly, a Glock semi-automatic pistol, you can tell it's empty if indeed the trigger is in its most rearward position, but that's a function of its design. Nevertheless, I'm still going to rack the slide several times, lock it back, do a visual feel check that indeed the gun is safe. And it is. Now, with a Glock pointed it in a very safe direction, which this gun is right now, and I've confirmed that it is indeed empty with the magazine out, I will dry fire it in that safe direction, thereby again placing that trigger in its most rearward position, showing me that the gun is safe just by a visual check. Magazine goes back in for the review. And even though I've confirmed that it's empty, what do? We still treat it as if it was loaded. Getting back to my safety things that I talked about in the other video. See number 1? Treat as if loaded, point in safe direction. That's a separate video you can watch. Okay, let's get on with it. There's a lot to talk about. This is going to be part 1 of the Glock 17. And I said that it is indeed my standard still in mid-2008 for all semi-automatic pistols. And when I say that, what I'm talking about are these categories right here. That in terms of weight, the amazingly lightweight, the high firepower of the Glock 17 and its brothers, the other models, it still stands tall in 2008. Durability, ergonomics, the amazing simplicity, the few number of parts that a Glock has, huge plethora of accessories out there, has a reasonable price and a very proven track record, the Glock 17 and its brothers, of course. We'll talk about these issues and in subsequent videos, and I'll start in this one. First, I'm going to talk about the weight, of course, and it's amazing. Now, I know for some of you guys, weight is not an overly critical factor, that you don't really care how much your gun weighs. For me, I do. I care how much my gun weighs. I care how much my knives weigh, because I take the guns, the knives, the body armor, everything that I'm needing in a tactical situation, and those situations admittedly vary quite a bit, but I take them as a system. In terms of weight, the Glock wins, even in 2008. This gun with an empty magazine weighs 25.5 ounces. That's an amazing weight. Lightweight means we're going to be more mobile and we won't fatigue as easily. So I think it's not a factor we should just blow off. I know a lot of guys who carry a lot of heavy guns, especially in the concealed carry permit environment, and pretty much all the time I give them a gun check, i.e., hey dude, you got your gun on you? They don't, because it's just too heavy. They leave it at home. Now, is the Glock 17 the best concealed gun out there? No. In fact, I think it's more of a holster gun than a concealed gun. But in terms of weight, it is amazing, and there are very few guns that stack up. Even this vaunted SIG 226 weighs 35 ounces, a full 10 ounces more than a Glock 17. I'm running out of time. We're going to pick it up in part 2 of the Glock 17, an amazing standard of measure even in 2008.